Welcome to GoneMad Presents Can You Hear Me Now? I'm one of the hosts. My name is Vicki Merriwether, and our other host is Madeline Patterson, and she is not with us tonight. But our guest is Reverend, Pastor Ray Hendricks and Angela Bigham, and we're going to be talking about St. John's Faith Community Garden. So,
yes.
First question, I guess, and we can just kind of get into it. How did y'all get started? Either one of you.
Okay. Well, got started before we actually came to St. John Faith Community
Okay.
Garden. At the Rehoboth Church had the vision of a garden, and we created a garden back in approximately 2007 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
And that garden was way too small for the people that we were beginning to serve, and it was starting to catch on. So we came and petitioned moderator G.V. Clark to use some space that was being unused at the St. John Regular Baptist Association at 7501 Blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And he agreed to allow us to use that space to create a community garden. That's how it started.
That's how it started. Now, I'm going to ask this question. Why a garden? What made y'all decide to do a garden? How did that whole process get started?
When I went to the Rehoboth Church in 2005, part of the vision was to create some, like a one-stop shop for health, where you could get your physical needs met, your mental needs met, and your spiritual needs met. And so part of the physical dealt with a garden where we could create a garden. The bigger vision is to create a garden to where we plant it, grow it, harvest it, then can it, preserve it, freeze it, give it away.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, when I also went to college and I got a healthcare administrative degree, and when I received that, Pastor Hendricks came to me and said, "Hey, I want a wellness ministry in the church, and I want you to lead it since now that you have your degree." I never knew what that looked like in a church, a wellness ministry. And so at that time, at Mount Zion, Shalonda Horton was leading that, and she was doing stuff at UT. And so I went over there to Mount Zion and started shadowing her.
Okay.
And so she started showing me, what it looks like to bring in health resources into your church, and how to stay connected with a lot of the issues that a lot of members were dealing with and getting them help. And so then we just started moving on from there with the ministries.
Okay. Because I think one of the things we had talked about, Madeline and I, is that the importance of gardening. And Jovette Newton, part of our production team, has a garden. She has a garden at her house. And I know we talked about, so Pastor Hendricks and I just happen to be cousins. And our people always had gardens.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
we grew up with that. And the importance of that particular piece, why the garden. And now it's more or less, like you say, the health benefits of it. Not just from an eating standpoint, because we all need to eat fresh.
Right.
But what happens when you're out there? Because y'all are active. Y'all go out there and get in the dirt.
Yeah.
I ain't never been out there to get in the dirt. But y'all actually go out and do the work.
Right.
How does that...
Well, I knew that the ground that we were getting was a fertile ground. And I knew it was fertile because our grandfather, Reverend A.C. Clark, used to be the groundskeeper when I was a kid. And he had cows in that area. And so he passed in 68, and he stopped doing the cattle in 67.
Wow.
And so I knew that ground was super fertile. And we have reaped the benefits of it being fertile because we have stuff that has grown, and people are wondering, how did y'all do it?
Yeah.
And I'm saying God did it through what happened years before we even thought about it or came on the scene.
That's crazy, because when you told me that, I didn't know he had cows out there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Well, because you were.
I know, but you know, that was fascinating to me because we talk about St. John's, and I know how important St. John's is to you. Well, it's important to me, but it's really, historically, it's really important to you. You invested in that, and I think some days, and this is probably just a side note, the things that were happening in St. John's that is more known now to a certain degree, but not as much as it should be.
Yeah.
Because, and you're gonna have to help me with this one. I know that St. John's Association itself at one time had an orphanage.
Yeah. The association actually it started in 1867, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. And these pastors got, well, in fact, one of the moderators, Reverend L.L. Campbell.
Wow.
This is well after it had been established. Got together with the association and they purchased 300 acres of land, which is presently now Austin Community College at Highland. So it used to be called the Highland Mall. And so that was St. John, and that belonged to St. John. And the orphanage was at the highest point of the hill. And so it was a 3-story orphanage.
Wow.
And that 3-story orphanage housed girls, but it was originally a boys' dormitory. I want to say it housed like maybe 200 girls or whatever. And then it was used also as a school. And passed down from moderators to moderators, and I got a little taste of it from my past moderator that even the Ku Klux Klan, the Ku Klux Klan paid to keep it open for a while because it was an old building that was probably dilapidated, and they paid to kind of get it remodeled and updated to keep our kids from going to school with the white kids. Yeah. So that's kind of the story. That's the backstory.
Yeah, okay.
And so that land pressure was put on St. John Regular Baptist Association to sell that land to the city. Because I think when they bought it, really the city limits was probably at 51st Street, not quite, about a mile away.
Wow.
And so as the city grew, they wanted that land and put pressure on, at that time, Reverend A.K. Black to sell that land, which he wouldn't sell, and especially at the price that they were offering. He was a realtor himself. And so he knew what the property was worth. But I think after a great deal of pressure, they finally ended up selling the property and purchased the property where it is now, east of I-35. And it was a bigger parcel, but they sold the majority of the community. They sold lots to residents so that they could build houses at $50 a lot.
Wow.
So St. John's community itself started as a result of the association.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I don't know why that never clicked with me.
A lot of people don't know that. And until Pastor was given the history, because every time we have something at the garden, we don't want to forget. So Pastor always tells of the history, and more folks come back and say, I want to know more. I want to know more, because he'll walk us through the pecan valley that used to be there and all these different things. Even when we're working the garden, we find horseshoes and all this glass. And I was like, why are we finding so much glass? Because there was no plastic back then. And that's where they camped out right there. So it's so neat to be out there. When we tow up that ground, we find history. And it's amazing to see when you're out there. So we're now trying to keep a lot of the little trinkets that we find out there and just put them in a corner somewhere, and we're going to eventually do something with it. But I just love being out there and seeing that and hearing it. Every time Pastor said, we hear something different, and the community love hearing about it because we want them to know what ground they're on.
I can remember him in that area where the garden is. He did some plowing out there. I remember he had a mule. And I can remember him taking the strap and throwing it over his shoulder. And, we were back looking. Yeah. And staying out of the way of the bulls. I remember getting run up under the barbed wire fence by one of his bulls. But anyway, I can remember those things like that. And so I'm assuming that one of those horseshoes probably was off of that mule that he used to probably plow with.
That is That is fascinating.
Amazing.
I mean, you know, and that's the kind of stuff that, as a community, we don't understand
Yeah.
and we don't know.
Yeah.
But I know when we've talked, you said, you had named the garden what now?
Okay. So after the moderator gave us the space to use, we kind of tilled it up and got started on it, but we hadn't named it.
Mm-hmm.
Unofficially, I just said St. John Community Garden. And he was out there, and I was to ask him what he thought about it, and he's standing around and out there and looking, and he said, St. John Faith Community Garden.
Mm-hmm.
I said, St. John Garden. He said, no, Faith Community Garden. And so as it stands, it's St. John Faith Community Garden.
And it's unique because you don't find no other garden that has faith in it.
Right.
Yeah.
And God made gardens.
Yeah, because when we talked about it, and I had to go kind of look up, and I'm not gonna say because it was a long piece that came up, but the significance of the garden in the Bible.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we talked. I shared with him ideas about naming a section over here, the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Gethsemane, whatever biblical gardens that we could find, create different areas and make them areas of solitude where people could go and just kind of unwind.
Yeah.
Mental.
And he gave the idea of there's a one at the kind of the southwest corner, building a hard surface, maybe a patio with rock or whatever, to where I think he said like maybe 20 or 30 folk could meet. Maybe the mission wanted to go out there and meet at the garden and have a little meeting or gathering
Wow.
Yeah.
there. So that's in the making.
Yeah.
In the making.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I guess eventually have seats out there or benches
Yeah.
where you can go out and just kind of do some meditating and all that kind of good
Yeah,
stuff.
because we've been big on that, on mental health. That's one of our biggest event that we have out there in the garden, and it's called the Mind, Body, and Spirit. And we bring out psychiatrists to talk to the community about your mind in the garden, being free, just being at peace. And really this was birthed out of COVID because at that time folks wanted to get out of their house, but they wanted to do it in a safe place. And the garden was a safe place. You could be a distance and you was out in the open. And so a lot of people came out then and started working with us in the garden because they felt safe. And so so we developed this event called Mind, Body, and Spirit, where we bring psychiatrists and mental health leaders out to speak to the community. Then we bring doctors that work in that community. This year we had Dr. Stephen Punt, who worked with Dell Medical and some other hospitals, and he came to talk about how eating from the garden, how it helps your body. And then we have the ministers like Reverend Hendricks come out and speak about the spirit of the garden. When Pastor Mays is available, he'll come and do a welcome to the garden. And then we've had a lot of great dignitaries. The mayor came out, commissioners came out, the state representative, Stephanie Hagan, she came out, and they meet with the community, and the community get to meet them on just a safe place, just gardening. Because the mayor, when he first came out there, he was like, I come out here, but it was for church. He said, but this is nice to come out here just to be amongst you and just be free and listen to the health stuff. And then we take people through the tour of the garden, of the items that we're growing. We have master gardeners that will be out there talking to you about how to grow certain things or what we're growing. Pastor Hendricks usually take people around through the back. It's nice. It's a beautiful creek area back in the back there, where you can just walk through freely, and it's really beautiful. So he usually take a group of people through a tour through there, and then we have health vendors. We have at least about 15 different health vendors that come out to introduce their products to the community. So last year, the first time we did, we had 300 people. Last year we had a little bit over 200 people.
Okay.
And so we're getting ready to do it again this May, the 17th. Yeah, and so we're hoping for another large group. And we want to keep doing this where we're bringing folks to that area and teaching them about the health benefits, about what we're growing, what we're doing. And it's more than gardening. We're educating. We're trying to give out good resources. UT comes out with products that show what they're doing. Also, public health is out there. We have YMCA. We even connected with the rec center, the St. John Recreational Center, Virginia Brown. They come over, and so they'll talk to the community.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really big.
And we're creating energy so that other congregations, St. John has 88 congregations that are part of that association. We're trying to encourage them to do, to come and be a part, but also to do the same thing at their churches, or so that some of the congregants will be confidence and have confidence and do some of that at home.
Yeah.
And we kind of try to do some healthy foods, and Angela kind of leads a healthy cooking and educating, talking about, well, like the super green. What's the super green?
The kale.
The kale.
The kale and the Swiss chard.
And the Swiss chard and the benefits of it.
I remember Reverend Clark came out there one time. If he'd seen us out there, he'll come driving down there in his Cadillac or something. And the greens were real big. And he was like, girl, those are ready for the pot. He said, we need to put those in the pot. I said, you can put them in the pot. He was like, no. But yeah, he used to love it. And a lot of reasons why he really enjoyed it, because he said he suffered with diabetes, and he was saying that he had to learn how to eat differently, and he learned healthier choices. So he was like, I want to encourage y'all to educate everyone, teach them about this. And so we have classes. We have a fall and a spring class where they last for 4 weeks, and so we're teaching how to build your own garden, even if it's on acres or if it's in a pot, how to build your own garden, how to water it, how to take care of it. Because what we're learning out there is how to grow stuff in this Texas heat.
Yeah.
What can manage in this Texas heat. And so now we have a good list of things that we know that can manage in the heat. Our okra does marvelous in this heat. We have an 8-foot tall burgundy okra.
Burgundy?
It's beautiful. It's red, and it's growing. It's growing. Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. I was like,
because it can take it in this heat. So we're learning to focus on things that grow in this heat. And we're looking forward into doing like a seed library where that, the community can come get their seeds from St. John. And we can show you how it's growing. Look at this big old tree. Here's the seeds.
Wow.
We call it an okra tree.
Yeah, the okra tree.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, that's great, because I know we want to, at my house, we want to start one.
Yeah.
Now I'm scared of snakes, so I don't know about all that.
We've never seen a snake out there. Thank God.
Yeah, but I've seen them, back in the day, and we
Yeah.
haven't seen too many in our yard in a while, but
Yeah.
it's been over 20 years since was when I saw the last one, probably because I ain't been looking for it.
Yeah,
But
they can run on. Too much building going, too much activity going on.
okay.
Yeah.
But I think, well, see, now we live near a creek bed, so that's the other piece. But we're going to still do one. And the question was, what can grow in this heat?
Yeah.
Even just
tomatoes, different things. If you're doing vegetables, now I have people who come to us about flowers and different stuff. And we have some flowers out there, but we don't really specialize in it. We really want to specialize in things that will help your body. So we're working on herbs. So we'll have a lady who will come out and tell us about the herbs that we're growing, how to prepare it for you, for your body. And then we do a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables. We also have fruit trees.
Yeah, we got even a fruit cocktail tree. There's several fruit. I like different stuff. Stuff that everybody don't have.
You do.
We got a fruit cocktail tree out there.
Yeah.
now I had not heard.
Yeah.
Nobody,
fruit
a lot of
cocktail
people
tree.
have it, and it grows fruit.
Yeah.
We're waiting to see when we can see at least 3 of the different fruits at the same time.
Yeah.
But what it does is, like, one year it has the plums, and then the next year it might show us a peach. But we haven't seen it all at the
But
same.
we just planted it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's about a little bit over 2 years old, so we still got some time. So we're curious to see it grow.
So y'all been doing this probably since 2009 around.
We started at Rehoboth. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
almost a 20-year.
Almost.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's blowing up. I mean, We do yoga in the garden.
The Girl Scouts have been there.
Yeah, the Girl Scouts come out and they did a prayer rock where they painted some rocks and wrote little prayer notes, and then they got to put it out in the garden somewhere. And that was really fun to see them do that. So different activities have come out there. We're going to have a workout session out there. You know, so it's so much that can happen.
We did have, and was it the last event? No, the event before. We had a group come from Denver, Colorado.
Denver, Colorado.
Called Big Greens.
Big Greens.
And they're a national organization. And so they came out and gave away a lot of giveaways. And
Growing
they were
kits.
impressed with the garden itself.
Yeah, they gave us growing kits. They found out what we were doing, and they were like, hey, we like what you're doing in your community, and we want to support. We have an abundance amount of these grow kits. So everybody who came out there was able to get a grow kit. And it was beautiful. They even showed them how to put it together. If you wanted to do it right there, they showed you, or if you wanted to take it home, you could. But it was awesome to have where they was in our community doing that. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep bringing in good stuff like that, where people want to support our community and keep educating.
I think there's, what I feel like is a marvelous idea. I like the idea of that,
Thank you.
especially with the garden, because we need it. And you're right. There's something we need to understand. We need to understand the benefits of it.
Yeah.
And we also need to understand that history.
Right.
You know. And I like the idea that y'all have people out there doing different events, because I'm thinking about sometimes if I have a client, I'd like to walk them through there, and it's like a walk session, talk session.
Oh yeah.
And just never thought about doing all of that
in the garden.
in the garden.
Now, there's a wooded area that Angela mentioned just a little while ago, that's either inside our fence line or just beyond it, but it goes along the creek, so part of that belongs to the city, I believe. But be able to walk through there and kind of develop kind of even in the summertime, you can probably go in that area and it'll, 100-degree weather, it'll drop the degrees a good.
Yeah, you don't feel a thing. The
8,
trees are so.
I didn't know it was out there.
Yeah, the trees are beautiful. We're working with people on doing a food forest.
Yes.
Where the stuff will be eatable.
There's some things in there that are eatable that we don't even know.
That helps your body.
Well, you're going to have to show me that one.
Yeah.
Because I know when we were growing up, there used to be a bridge.
Yes.
The
remnants of that bridge are in the creek, but some of it.
Oh.
But that bridge fell down a couple of times. But yes, the last remnant is kind of.
And there's a path back there.
It used to cross over to the park, which is now the apartment complex. So St. John used to own all of that. And so that was where the huge pecan bottom was. Yeah. And the first tabernacle, which was a pole-borne kind of tabernacle, it was over on that side as well. Yeah.
That's that history.
It's that history. I mean, and that's important because
I remember it.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember it being used as the tabernacle, but I remember coming down there with my grandpa and walking down through there and seeing it, because they used to store benches in there and people would have family reunions down off in that bottom there.
See, I didn't know any of that. I mean, there's so much that can happen out there, and I think that's what excites me, is the idea that garden is a jumping point for just other things that could possibly happen in that area.
The bigger vision is the Black Church Farmers Market, where our churches come together, because we have 88 churches, and I know at a lot of these churches somebody's doing tomatoes and somebody's doing something with onions and somebody's doing this. But would it be nice that once a month or once every other month we all meet at St. John under a big barn or tent, and we could swap and trade, because groceries are high.
And that's what used to happen in St. John. Somebody grew greens, somebody grew corn, somebody grew this and that.
We're coming back
everybody had
something. Wow.
And you're going to meet right there at the tabernacle. And then we could do all of that and even have music. You can have even gospel music being played or whatever. But it's a good spot because St. John is in a beautiful spot right
It
there.
is. That
It's a
it is.
beautiful spot. It's right there in the center from a lot of stuff. And I feel like it's the heart of that community. And so bringing people back into that while we're teaching healthy stuff, one of the bigger visions that Pastor Hendricks has been designing and working with is that we know how to plant it, we know how to harvest it, but we don't have anyone cooking it. So we want to do an outdoor kitchen where they can, we have a chef, where he's going to show you, when you pick the greens, this is how you do it, and this is how you cook it, right there live in front of you, and then feed you right there.
At the garden.
At the garden. That's what we want to do. We want to get to that point where we're cooking it right there in front of you. We have a lot of women still in our community who knows how to jar a lot of this. They know how to jar greens.
That was what I was going to. That was the next thing in my head, because I know you said earlier about canning and preserving. Now, again, our parents knew that. I wouldn't know. My parents and grandparents and all that, they knew how to do canning.
They had to. They had to. It wasn't like getting up and going to HEB at any time of the day. They had to. And the way groceries are going so high, people are learning how to preserve things. And I just tasted this weekend where this lady preserved some collard greens. And she said it could stay in the jar for like a year. And I was like, oh my God, ain't that amazing how many families we could feed if we could jar a lot of these and store that and keep that. And then when hard times comes, how you can go to that and pull from that. That would be amazing.
It would be. Now I'm gonna tell you, my interest in canning and jar, and just preserving, even having the garden, is not so much the cost of groceries, which that is one of the things. But it's the health benefits. Because so much of what we eat now has so many different preservatives and things in it that are not good for us. They cause so many health problems.
That's right.
And not only physical health, what we don't know is that some of the stuff that we're eating is causing mental health issues. And so that becomes a concern for me.
For a lot of us,
And so that canning, and a lot of people around the country now are going back to canning. And what's really interesting to me is that we have more black farmers coming in.
Yes, I've been seeing that. A lot of them reach out to me about, what y'all doing right now? How do you stop this from happening to your such and such? So we're always swapping and thinking, because the difference between what we do and other people from other areas is that a lot of people don't know how to plant for this heat.
Exactly.
Most other areas do have water, have, not 100 degrees for 9 months of the year. But that's a trick into how to plant for Texas heat and still harvest. How do you do it?
I don't know.
And that's how we do it. That's what we're learning.
I will tell you this. I don't know what it is about St. John soil that we are able to grow collard greens year round. We can grow almost the little cherry tomatoes, almost and they're
to
just
the first freeze.
loaded.
They're growing to the first freeze,
and they're just loaded, pulling the branches down.
They're heavy. And then we have Swiss chard, which I didn't know a lot about Swiss chard until I started growing it out there. And I remember GV was saying that too. He was like, "That's an old green." And he said, "Nobody messes with that no more." And I said, "Yeah, they do. It's coming back." But those are greens that were forgotten.
What was it? A celery?
It's related to 5 different things. The Swiss chard is related to celeries, beets. Then, of course, the greens, and then there was one more other thing that they're related to, because they have all those different vitamins in it, and even the kale. We grow paper kale and green kale, and that's another queen of the greens.
And Swiss chard is what we got: red,
white,
yellow.
and gold.
Well, I didn't know.
It makes a beautiful presentation in the garden, and it can take this heat.
Really?
Yeah, that's what's so neat about it. It can keep. It's still growing. It could take this heat. This was our first year doing sweet potatoes, and we received a lot of good sweet potatoes, so we're super excited. We want to keep that going. It was hard to find them at first, so now we're trying to keep that going, where we're going to keep growing sweet potatoes.
But I want to share something, and it's not off. We got raised beds, and the whole idea behind the raised beds is so that our seniors can be comfortable in coming out and being apart instead of stooping over as four. Got raised beds. Hopefully, someday we can create some kind of a program to where our seniors can interact with the kids that are even 2 generations behind.
That'd be
And they can
good.
share their wisdom, and the kids can share their energy, and they can help one another. We can kind of guide it in the middle.
You know, I tell you all the time when we have conversations, your vision is just,
I know.
he got great vision.
He does.
It's, most people don't know too much about Swiss chard, but my mother used to eat Swiss chard.
Nobody know
And
about
to me, it's on that texture of spinach. So, but I've only done the green.
You're right.
I've never
You're
done
right.
well. Now I have mixed it all up because sometimes you go to the store and I just buy what they have and I'll just mix it up. But kale, Swiss chard, collards. I know y'all grow watermelon.
Well, we grow
yeah.
watermelons, but then we grow cucumbers. And
Yeah.
once it really gets going, we can get a 5-gallon bucket out of 2 rows
2 rows.
every other day.
But we've learned which ones grow
which
well.
ones grow
The
fast.
straight 8. So we learned the straight 8 cucumbers because there's so many kinds,
See,
and
now
we've tried so many ones.
Okra, we can't keep up with the okra.
Yeah, we can't keep up with it. But we learned
Now,
those
that's
are
my thing.
We
the
can't keep up with it.
seamless okra. So this is trial and error because we've learned. Okay, this
seamless
doesn't
is
grow well.
spineless.
Spineless, yeah, spineless okra.
Okra? So you have raised beds, but you have stuff coming out of the ground
Yeah.
too.
We do too.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing both. Right now we have pumpkins out there. We was hoping to have pumpkins by October, but that didn't plan out. So, but they're still growing. So hopefully we'll see some pumpkins soon. But we still have a lot growing out there, and it will continue. Majority of everything out there will continue into the first hard freeze.
We haven't had a hard freeze yet.
So since we haven't had
And
a
we're in
freeze, we're
December.
still harvesting.
Yeah.
We're still harvesting
A lot.
from our fall garden. And now we're going to be getting ready, like in February, to do the
Break it,
spring.
yeah.
But we might still be harvesting from our fall.
See, I'm learning. You plant stuff for the fall and you plant stuff for the spring.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. And it lasts. And like our peaches, Pastor was talking about our trees. We had so many peaches this year. Our peach tree blew up. And now we're thinking maybe we ought to just stick to peaches and just have a peach tree orchard because the peaches blew up. So we have pears, plums, apples, fig, and then the 2 fruit cocktail trees. Is that correct?
Apples.
That's right.
Yeah. And so we'll see 1 apple. And I don't think we've seen the pears yet. The pears haven't showed up yet. But the peaches blow up out there. So we're learning now that maybe this is for the peaches. We might just stick with peaches.
So I mean, because right now I'm hearing y'all sound like experts to me on this stuff.
We're just trial and error, trial and error.
Well, you know who
And
you're
we love,
talking to.
and we love
We've
it,
been learning.
and we
Yeah,
love
been
it.
learning.
Yeah, and we're educating ourselves. I mean, like I said, we have a fall class, and it's for 4 weeks, where master gardeners come out and talk to us about things. Every time we learn something. I remember they were teaching us about the bugs in the garden. And I was like, the bugs?
Yeah.
And I was like, we're killing it all. And they said, no. There are some bugs that help your garden. There's some bugs that work for your garden. And so now we're educated on that. Not to kill the ladybugs. The
Okay,
ladybug
yeah.
is helping us, but there's certain things. And so we're learning healthy tips on how to get rid of certain things.
And how to get rid of it, not
Safe.
using pesticides. and
Yeah,
insecticides.
chemicals. Yeah, no chemicals.
So when now I will definitely start coming to some of the classes because I'm trying to think how do we, especially at the house, how do we begin that process? Because which bugs to get rid of, what to grow.
Yeah.
Because my daughter, when she was younger, she was growing tomatoes and strawberries and peppers and something else, and she left town for about a week. She came back, everything was dead.
Gone.
Yeah.
It was
Because
gone,
I
yeah.
did not do what I needed
Yeah.
to do. But then I found out from one of our other cousins that it was on the wrong side of the house because of the heat, the sun. Yeah. And
Some things could take a straight heat, and some has to have like 6 hours, then it goes cool.
okay.
But it's also too about your watering. That's another thing we're learning in our classes, how much water to give certain plants. Everybody, I grew up just watering it all, just watering it all. But some things don't need a lot of watering. Some things need a lot of watering. And so this is why we try to encourage a lot of people in our community to come to our classes, because we're teaching you, and then we're hands-on for those who want to, because we have people who come out there who don't want to just sit in the class. They were like, I want to get my hands in there. And so we do both. We start off and we always open up, because we're faith-based, we open up with a scripture and a prayer. This year we did a song, and a lot of them enjoyed that. But we're always going to open up with scripture and prayer. And most of the time the scripture is relating to what God says about a garden. And then we go into our class, because the thing that separates us from the rest is that we are faith-based, and we want to keep it that way. And so we want to invite ministers to come out there. We had a couple of ministers that came out there. St. James sent a lot of their members out there to work the garden, and then Reverend Cannon, and he came out there. So we have ministers now that are coming out there, and so it's really fun to see that. But I can't wait to see when the 88 churches are coming out there to support their garden.
So we use about 2/3 of what we've been allotted to use.
Really?
But we can't really handle it more right now.
Right.
But we're getting at the point to where we're better organized, and we're going to probably expand to that space if our moderator still gives us that space. Expand that space, and we do. So that space right now, we use it for events. We use that space for events,
Big events,
for vendors, and that kind of thing. Just kind of keep it cleared out and cleaned up.
Well, that sounds, because I see that, I guess that permanent tent or whatever you call it, where you have the events in the cement or whatever, where people can come out and do different events outside and do things like that.
Yeah, we have DJs out there. They play, soft gospel to set the atmosphere and keep it, no words, just soft gospel. And a lot of the vendors, I mean, we don't even have to look for them. They come looking for us, because a lot of people want that area, because that area is still one of the hardest hit areas. It's still lacking a lot. And a lot of people don't get resources in that area. And so that's why a lot of vendors come and they want to introduce their resources to a community that don't normally get to hear about it or see it. And that's why a lot of doctors like coming out there, because they were like, Miss Angela, we don't get to work the community like this. He said, but now that you're having something like this is neat, where we can come meet them here where they're at. And we try to show that this is a safe place.
Yeah, and she's good at getting partners. I mean, like Home Depot, Fruitful Commons, UT Dale, Baylor Scott and White. Just different.
Hall Foundation.
Hall Foundation. People that can help us do.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a short break for right now, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation on St. John's Faith Community Garden.
All right.
Good day, good people. What's up? All right. So, be living your best life, living a blessed life, being the best you can be, doing the best you can do, and not selling yourself short. Okay? All right. So, right back there, I'm going to start my no-till, back to Eden style garden. So, this video is about to be all about measuring. So that's all I'm going to do is do the measuring. So let's get into it. So my garden is a 15 by 15. That's a 8 by 5 tarp that's there. So what I'm doing now is measuring out each side, making sure that the preliminary stakes I put out are in fact 15 feet, and then I'm adding in wood stakes to further go in on the dial in on the measurement. So just each side 15 by 15. Now I'm taking the diagonal to make sure that I have each side at 90 degrees. So when you do it, ensure that each end equals each diagonal. And it's as simple as that to make sure you have 90 degrees. And now I'm using the twine to mark off how I'm going to my lines for my trench, because I'm going to dig a trench, and we'll talk about that in another video, around each end. So that's essentially what I'm doing now, is going side by side as Phyllis follows me, because she really loves that twine. And you'll see here in a little bit, she decided that she wanted to take it and play with it. And I'm being careful to make sure that I do put it down very low. I think I mentioned this later, but I do want to mention it now. Because she's out here and I don't have the fence up yet, I am putting the line flush with the ground. So take that into account if you have animals and things that you're dealing with. That right there, that's running towards me, that's gonna be my biggest competition for this garden. Not the rabbits, not the birds, but Phyllis. There we go. Phyllis, give me my twine back. It's a really good time for me to put these down because the grass is so wet, and that's part of the reason why I went ahead and am doing this now. So the ground should be really wet by the time I get to the next step of digging the trenches. So simple as that. A lot of people talk about 3, 4, 5s, but if you're making a square garden, just make sure that your diagonals, so from this way to that way, is equal, and then from this way to that way equal, and that means you have 90 degrees. So that's a little bit easier for you who don't like to do math. Then again, it's 15 by 15, and yeah, 15 by 15. And what I'm gonna have, this is probably the reason why I decided to start. This right here is why I started, why I needed to put some lines out for myself. This first, get down, this first trench, it started off really good, and then it just went real wonky jawed, so I just need some help. So went ahead and put these out, although the big ones were pretty good. But anyway, so big plan here in the trenches, because as you can see, I have plenty of runner weeds and I have deep weeds. So the only way to get rid of all these pointy, sticky, crazy root systems that have been down here for the longest. Look at them. Look how deep they go, yo. Look how deep my weeds are. So, all right, stay tuned for the next one. I'll be digging the trench, and this is also where I'm gonna put my fence to keep the rabbits out, because we have a ton of rabbits. So, all right, make sure to keep joining me on my choices journey, and that's where I'm just trying to be better day by day, working on my diet, working on my fitness, working on being closer to God and Jesus and all of that. So Until next time, peace out, one love, Jesus Christ. Remember that. We out. Say bye, Phyllis. Bye. Tell them bye. Say bye. Bye.
Welcome back. We have some more conversation about the garden, and one of my questions is how your investment in St. John's. Why are you so deeply rooted in that area? And
The St. John Faith Community Garden is at 7501 Blessing Avenue. I grew up on Meador, the next street over. My dad grew up in St. John. He's 91, and he's been in St. John since he was 10.
Wow.
Both of my grandfathers were in St. John. So I had family on both sides of the family living in the St. John's community. So I bleed St. John. Then my grandfather was one of the vice moderators of the association. So we rode bicycles to his house to work with cows, and we didn't do much of the work, but we were there. I even had hogs, and then to help clean the grounds and prepare for the district association meetings. So as kids, we did all of that. So it's what I knew. Is what's in my veins.
Yeah.
I lived out there even after getting married. I lived out there for some years. I was president of the St. John Neighborhood Association for many years, and I gave the vision for the multipurpose center that is right across the street from the Tabernacle. And so that was as a result of them taking our elementary school and not giving us back a community school, and the need was still great. And so God gave vision, and I just shared the vision. And so we look years later, it's still there, $26 million project.
Yeah. And I know you were instrumental in that project, to say the least. And it's crazy because I remember I did spend some time out there, but I didn't go out there with cows. But I don't remember going. Again, we share the same grandfather, but I didn't go out there with those cows, so I don't remember all of that. I just remember playing basketball with you and D. Out there. And you are deeply invested in that in that area.
What we do, what I do, and I'm just saying, both of us, I don't do for pay. I do because I think it's something that is great enough and needs to happen, and I'm willing to do it.
Well, no, because you don't get paid to do it.
No, we just get out there and do it.
No,
get out there and do
but
it.
God has increased us.
Yeah.
When me and Pastor Hendricks started this garden, we did it on our dime. You know, we bought the supplies we needed, and people were donating to us seeds and stuff, and we just started like that. But then as we grew, the grants start coming, and people start investing in us, and now we're like, okay, now we could plan some things. You know, we're planning things, and you know, and there's still lots to do. There's just so much you can do, but it was nice to see the growth. You know, and now people are recognizing what we're doing and want to buy in on that. They love the fact that we have Girl Scouts out there, little girls out there. And so now they're showing us they're giving us stuff to show them how to do stuff out there in the garden. We're showing them how to plant and cover the seeds and how to water. We give them all little seedlings and tell them to take them home. And I get reports back from parents. I'm like, girl, that thing is growing and they just over there. Or they say, girl, I don't know what happened to their little plant. You know? And so, but it's just nice to hear that because we're trying to get that fire built into them right now.
Yeah.
And then even the older people who are coming out there who used to garden. We have a 94-year-old.
Yep.
Her name is Miss Urshery.
Never miss.
Yeah, whatever we're having, she's out there with her special hoe. She already got her hoe. And so she comes out there and she works that garden. And she says she was raised on the farm. and this makes her feel good. And so we love hearing stories. Reverend McClendon came out there when we had all these watermelons, and he sat on the back of his truck, and he was telling those stories as a little boy, jumping off the truck to pick the watermelons and throwing them on the truck. That was one of his jobs. Reverend Frank Cage, he used to be out there cutting the grass, and he would stop and talk with us and look at the stuff, and he'd talk about things. So it's just been amazing what we've been hearing while we're out there and what people are feeling, and that's what we want. We want this to be a safe place. We want you to feel the Spirit of God there. We want you to know that you're going to be okay when you're out here. And that's what we work hard to do. And we want you to learn something. You know, we want you to take something away from what we're doing. And most of the times we're giving out seeds. We got plenty of seeds. So we're giving out seeds. So that's why we're trying to organize a library where you can come and check out your seeds from us.
Okay.
You know, where if you say, hey, I can't find watermelon seeds. Hey, guess what? St. John got watermelon seeds. I can't find okra seeds. We got tons of okra seeds. You know, we got it all. You know, we want to be there.
What color you need?
Yeah, what color?
Yeah, that I have never seen, so I'm going to have to see that.
So, yeah, we want to do that. We want to be a good resource for our community.
Well, and it's, I think, a good space.
Yeah.
You know, like you say, for our community, because
Our community.
it's a. When I was growing up, we had spaces.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it was Givens Park,
Yeah. Rosewood.
Rosewood,
Doris
St.
Miller,
John's.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because when I was little, St. John's. When I was
Yeah.
young, St. John's. It was like going to the carnival, because they had those
Yes.
spots
Those
you
stands,
get,
yeah.
those stands.
And they were all lit up. Yeah.
And then back in the day when I was young, you know, the movie theater was across
Yep.
the highway,
Yep.
and we
I
sit out.
remember that.
Showtown.
Oh yeah, so we'd sit outside
Oh,
and
I
watch the
didn't see
movie.
that.
Couldn't hear anything, but we watched the movies, or
Yeah.
just running out, just running around outside. Not in church, we were just running outside.
Yeah, that was our cell phone.
It was.
That was our entertainment.
But it was
Yeah.
just a different time frame,
It
and
was different.
I think that's something we miss.
Yeah, it
Right.
is.
And
You
we
know,
need to come back to.
We do need to come back to it. We need to
Yeah.
have the spaces to do that, but we need also the mentality that this is what we need.
And we need to educate our youth on our history.
Yeah, we do.
Because it's coming back.
Yeah.
It's coming back.
Yes, it
you
is.
know, COVID made everybody think about a garden.
Yeah.
Everybody was trying to plant something, you know, and so it's coming back. And two, they're finding out, you know, how us being on these phones and computers all day, our minds, you know, are struggling. We stay on high alert. We stay red.
Yes, we
and we
do.
never cool down, but. That's why we like bringing mental counselors out there in the garden and psychiatrists, because they walk you through this process of feeling that breeze, smelling it, hearing it, touching it, all of these sensories, and then bringing you down to where you're cool, where your mind is not on high alert, where you're not swiping and poking, and you're just feeling what God has done. And it takes you into such a good place. Your pressure is going down.
Yes, it is.
You know, your stress is not, you're not all stressed now, because you ain't got to run right now. You're just in the moment. And so I love it when they walk us through that process, because so many times we're so running so hard that we never take our time to breathe. And they make us do these breathing techniques where we're doing deep breathing, and then we're letting that out, and then we're sitting still, and they're asking you, do you hear the bird? You know, do you feel that? And it just, all of a sudden you're lowered, and now you're cooling down.
When I've done, when I talk about it sometimes, I've done addictions counseling for almost 30 years.
Okay.
And the last facility, well, not just the last facility, different times I'll have clients go outside.
Yeah.
And especially when there's a lot of anxiety, or they're having an event like a breakdown or something, and I'll have them go outside and look at a tree and ask them to talk to me about the tree.
Okay.
Give me good detail about what they're seeing in that tree. I've had clients that I'll tell to take your shoes off and feel that ground. I think we've forgotten our connection with the earth. And good question to me is, I don't know why we got away from that. You know, it's because, and I think,
Bacteria and and germs. Everybody done overdid it. You know, scared of this, scared of that, and you know, we gotta clean so much, but some of this you need. Like you say, it helps you to ground yourself.
it does.
You know, that's why I said we got people out there, they want to hurry up and get in that dirt. They like, you know, where's the shovel at? Let's go. You know, they want to touch it. They want to feel it because they don't get to do it often.
Growing up, my grandmother did. My maternal, they had a garden in her yard, and I used to get in trouble for going out there. Don't laugh. Pulling the onions out of the garden and eating them right in the garden.
I heard a
now,
lot of stories
onion?
about that.
I don't know what that is.
Everybody did that. They said
but even, and my mother said I used to eat dirt. Now, I don't know what that was about. But
I heard a lot of people did that back in the day.
But their connection is like, when we start talking about connection, the connection to the earth, and I think, well, God created the earth.
All of it.
And so it's got this thing called ashes to ashes and dust to dust.
Yeah.
We come from that. So I don't understand sometimes why we have moved away from that, especially as Christians.
Yeah. Good question.
We're more connected, like you say, to the technology than we are to what?
To me, it seems that we're connecting with the generations, ours and beyond, or connecting to the things that man creates rather than the things that God creates. And God creates in the natural, and we create all this other stuff. And so as a result, the stuff that we create can never be as great as what he's already done. And so in my mind, the things that God does are pure compared to the impurities that we have. I don't care how pretty we make it. It usually is made with some impure things in order to get a result that we think is good.
That is true.
In my mind, I'm just thinking that the natural is just so much better. You don't have to worry about
the other stuff, any
of the stuff that hurts you.
The stuff that hurts you.
Yeah.
Sitting all alone, looking out the window, where the walls come tumbling down. That's where I'm happy